everybody, and welcome to GLHF episode number 32, where today we are looking at Torchlight 2. So, we've already actually covered this game in the past with the beta when that was available, but we're going to be doing a video here because that was a while ago. The game has changed a lot since then. So we'll be checking out the game and some updated features about it, and also we'll be discussing a little bit about the differences between this and Diablo 3, because that's kind of the hot topic here. So I created a new character. My engineer is like level close to 30 or something like that, and I didn't really feel like playing them, so I leveled up an Ember Mage, that's it. As you can see, they look pretty low level because they are. Let's see, what level am I? I'm level 7, and I have a little dog following me around that I named Professor. Yeah, I know, it's awesome. Okay, let's go to the way portal, or whatever you want to call it here, and we'll discuss a little bit about the game. So, with this, with the launch of the game, there's a few new features, right? So they redid the skill system. I think that's the most notable thing to mention. Before, it was like Diablo 2, because it's pretty much the developers of Diablo 2 that made this game, where you had skill trees, right? So you would go down a skill tree and you put points into different skills. The problem with that is certain skills would feel like you put 1 point into it and you get some really cool stuff, and that's it. And then every other point you put into it is kind of just like a minor upgrade. So it didn't feel very cool. And after the launch of Diablo 3, they looked at that skill system and went like, okay, people really like that. People want a bit more fun out of the skill system, so they altered it. So what they did instead, after I'm done clicking away and killing these guys, I probably should be using my actual abilities. Oh, missed them. As you can tell, I got a lot of fire, which is awesome. Now, what they did instead is they still kind of have like a skill that you put points into, like these, for instance. And they have 3 trees, as you might expect, and you can kind of spec your character the way you want to. But what makes it different is you still put a point into it. So like if I put an X point into it, you see that the mana cost goes up a little bit. But what happens is it does more damage and a higher % chance to do a dot over time on an enemy. But the thing is, at certain intervals, as you can see at the bottom of the skills, 1, 2, and 3, it increases the way that the ability actually works. So the next one increases the range, which is kind of boring. The second one increases the burn time of the dot, which is also pretty boring. But the third one makes the spheres, like these things, ricochet off walls, which that is pretty cool. And there's the same thing like these fire bombs. It's just pools of flame last longer, which is really boring. But you go along, and then there's things like this, where this firestorm, the enemies do 30% less fire damage when afflicted, which is kind of an interesting thing to put down on that. That's the first tier bonus. The second one is that targets emit burning splinters, which is really sweet, and then burning splinters range is doubled. That's the third one, which I mean, some of the skills, like on the engineer especially, some of them get really interesting. Others are not. So I think they hit a really good balance of the skill system here. It's not the talent trees that we remember, but it's, I don't know. It's cool because you still spec your character the way you want it. You're just not given all the skills like you are in Diablo. And then the bottom thing here is you just get passives that you can put points into. So the charge rate, this is this bar here. It just pretty much buffs that. But then there's like Firebrand, which when I hit a burning enemy, I do additional burst of fire damage, which is pretty sweet. Or there's things like Staff Mastery, so I do different things with staves, there we go. And, you know, there's just random passives, which are quite nice to have. And then you have the Diablo style of points. So you put points into different things, so every time I level up, I get 5 points. So we'll go kill a few things, and as we do that, we'll talk a little bit more about the game. Now, there's probably going to be a lot of comparisons to Diablo while I play this. The game sound is, holy cow, it's so hard to balance. Okay, this is one of the gripes I have about the game here. Look how little this is. It's still super loud. So I'm just going to turn that down a little bit because I can't actually hear over it. Now the thing is, you're going to hear a lot of comparisons to Diablo because it's kind of the hot topic, and we criticized Diablo 3 quite a bit when we did our playthrough of it. So I think it's worth noting what I feel is good in this game and what isn't in comparison to Diablo 3. That's not going to be the focus of the video though, but I did want to share with you guys some thoughts on that. So the first thing is that in Diablo, I feel like the style of this game, like I'm able to move really quick, which is it's fun. I could zoom in if I really wanted to make it feel like Diablo. But the problem I have with it is that in this game it's really hard to see enemies, and I think that's only because I can't see health bars above them. I'm used to being in Diablo and being able to see health bars, so I think that's one of the only gripes that I have about this game. Other than that, it's almost better in every way. I like the skill system more. The combat's pretty good. There's certain things that just don't feel good to me yet, but it could be because the skills aren't leveled up all the way. So, like, this feels cool, but it also feels kind of puny. The fire bombs, which I have tried on a different character, a hardcore character, do quite a bit of damage, which is this skill here, and it feels really meaty. It's cool. I like that skill, but for the most part, the combat feels really good in comparison to Diablo. It's pretty much the same thing. Ooh, I don't have a golden key to open that, so let's try to find one. But like I said, some skills feel kind of wimpy, but that could simply be because I don't have any high level points in them. So what else is a comparison to Diablo? Well, the loot system is much better. Oh my gosh, is it much better? Because here's the thing. As we've said before with our criticisms of Diablo, the biggest mistake they ever had was, oh geez. Just kill all the things. I wasn't expecting that. I've never seen that before. The loot system in Diablo has to work around the fact that there's an auction house, and I don't know. It could be completely my experience, but you know, it could be wrong to begin with. But from what I've seen, the loot is balanced around the fact that there is an auction house, which means it drops really crappy stuff 90% of the time, and a little quest here. And what that does is it makes you use the auction house, because you're like, well, now I need really good gear, so you're forced to go to the auction house and pick up something that someone got really lucky with. And this, they kind of give you really good gear to start off with. Really fun gear, too. It's not like you get into the game, you get a ton of white items. Yeah, you do get white items, but then, like, I'm only level 8 here, which isn't very far into the game, and I already have, like, set pieces. Like, things that it's just fun loot, right? It's loot that isn't really boring. It's loot that is properly statted in 90% of the cases. And it's loot that you're just not throwing away all the time. Most of the time when I find a really good piece of gear, I'm keeping it, and I'm waiting to give it to another character with the shared stash, which is something they've added, which is really nice. So I could share it between characters, just kind of like Diablo. So I've got like really good items that I end up getting and saving. So the item system and loot feels better. It feels like I'm getting more useful items, or cooler items in general that I could be using on other characters. So another thing, comparison-wise, is the fact that there's just more like cool little things to do than in Diablo. Diablo had like those random events that would happen, just, you know, randomly generated events where you go in and you like help somebody go through a mine or something like that. Some weird stuff like that, which is cool, and I probably should level up here while I'm remembering. 5 points into that, and let's put a point into that. I said that. There we go. So yeah, the events in this game, like you see here, there's a quest to go into this dungeon, and usually at the end of a dungeon there'll be a boss, and at the end, basically, what you can imagine. Whoop. Let me not die here. What you can imagine is you'll get really good loot from that, and there's also like secrets. I don't think that's a secret. No, that's not. But there'll be things like this where you can see like up here where there's like units and stuff up there, and you're like, well, I want to go kill the enemies, but you know you can't find a way up there. Sometimes you have to do something like as simple as hitting gongs in a room, and it'll open up a secret door, and that'll get you to like an area where there's a really good chest of items. Like, there's a lot of that in this game, and I really appreciate how much they've gone into putting secrets and stuff in the game. It gives you more rewards for exploring, really. I guess that's basically the thing I'm trying to say, and I really like that over Diablo. But the thing is, Diablo still is a really good game, and I mean, it's really polished, and it's got a, well, it's got a graphic style that works better for my eyes. I don't know why, I'm just not able to see what's going on screen here. It's just, it could be because I don't have the life bars, like I said, but it could easily be because this is what the graphic style is, and this is, you know, kind of the approach they've taken, which I'm okay with. It's just hard for me to see, so I gotta cope with that, which makes it really hard to play a hardcore character. The other thing is, you can play any difficulty right off the bat in this game, which I really like. You're not forced to go through normal and then like nightmare and finally get yourself all the way up to Inferno, you know, that kind of thing. I like that you can choose your difficulty right off the bat. I like that the game has an offline, this is the biggest thing, the game has an offline single player mode. I know, it's a revelation within gaming, and it made the launch day very easy to cope with, because the Runic servers went down, obviously, because there's a ton of people going in. They brought them down for maintenance, and guess what, I could still hop on and play the game. Funny how that works, because it has an offline mode. I got boots there, not better than what I got though, which I find is really cool. And for the most part, the skills, yes, there we go. The skills that you pick are pretty much set in stone as you go through. They have a respec option, but you can only respec the last 3 points spent. And that may sound like, you know, like, oh, well, that sucks. Like, I would like to try out a ton of specs. Well, that doesn't mean that you can't. It doesn't restrict you to not being able to. And what I mean by that is, ooh, almost died, is that this game supports full modding community, and it's Steamworks, so you can find the mods fairly easily. Plus, I think there's a few fan sites that will be hosting the mods as well. So, I mean, if there's anything in the game you don't like, or anything in the game that you really want, you can easily add it through a mod, or get somebody to add it, or go find a mod that has it. So, that's kind of the upside to not having an auction house, is you don't have to worry about making money off of an auction house, which means then you can have a lot of fun with your game, mostly by allowing you to mod the heck out of it, which I think extends not only the lifetime of a game, but also makes it more fun, because then you can kind of play the game you want to play. And people can come out with like custom like campaigns and stuff, which I think would be really fun to play through, especially if you could play it through like on a character you already have. That would be cool. So all this kind of adds up into the game you're seeing here, which is, you know, it's Diablo basically, but it's in a different world. It's got a different story. It's got a different art style. It's got very similar combat, but to me, it's a funner game. I log on to Torchlight and I have more fun because I don't feel like I'm getting gypped with the items I'm getting. I feel like the game is helping me in ways, but also hurting me in others, because it is a very hard game. So I think the game understands and is aware that it is a difficult game, and it tries to help you by giving you really good loot. And the different classes there are fairly varied. Like the Engineer is a lot of fun to play and has some fun mechanics. And this Ember Mage is kind of what you would expect from a caster, but there's some cool things you could do with it as well. So, I mean, you get a lot of variety in the gameplay as well when you play through with different classes. And of course, the game is really fun with more people. But that's pretty much my overall impressions of it. You kind of learned the game systems when I had done the beta video, except for the new skill system and whatnot. This game also has, by the way, to mention, I guess, has a few other things that are kind of interesting. It's got an Enchanter in town, once you find him. And this Enchanter can enchant your items up to 2 times. You can do it another 2 times as you go throughout the story. And it's a random enchantment, so it kind of increases the itemization that you can have on an item. makes it better. Sometimes it doesn't really give you anything useful, other times it does. And then there's a gambling item, as you remember from... Yeah, I leveled up. As you remember from Diablo 2. And this vendor allows you to buy items which aren't identified yet. So you could get really lucky and get like a super good item off of it. So that's also a pretty fun way of doing loot as well. And I had forgotten to mention that. But like I said, overall this is my impression of the game. I really like it. I like it better than Diablo. I just have more fun on it. Diablo is still a really fun game though. But this is just, it's more up my alley. So I'm more in tune with this game, I guess, than I am with Diablo. I have less criticisms about it because I know that eventually I could just... Ooh, that is a... Was that a boss? Yes, there's a boss there. Or a boss mob. Yeah, I know I can mod the heck out of the game, so anything that I don't like about it I know I can fix. Like health bars, probably can fix that. It's pretty easy to do that as far as modding goes. So I think other than that, that pretty much covers what I wanted to say about the game and what I wanted to cover. There's really not much more to show, and it's a Diablo game. It's Torchlight. If you really want to know about the story, you could probably play through on your own. But I would highly suggest it if any of you were wondering whether or not it's worth to pick up. It definitely is. So let me put my points in here. More mana and another rank in that. And on that note, we'll see you guys next time.